by saying this has as much room to offend folks on both sides of the anti-ship fence, or the ship, or whatever side you fall on, as it does to reach through. If you're too much of a special snowflake to hear a strong opinion, you don't need to be hearing this. But what I'm trying to do is to make people on both sides of the discussion realize there's a common enemy, and if we could come to a communal understanding instead of this violent war zone of denial and screaming at each other both ways, we can fix our problem. So sit tight, don't knee jerk, crack a beer or something. Hey there, I'm a hot mess. I'm going to preface this entire video with a bit of an understanding. I considered slapping on miles of makeup and beautifying myself with careful lighting and pitching my voice to be catchy. You know, when girls are supposed to be all fair. I realize that's something that this conversation type doesn't need. In fact, it needs the opposite. So, hi, I'm a working class, more than 30, but undisclosed woman in a some years lesbian partnership. Why is this anybody's business? Generally, it isn't, but I'm about to break up some of the illusion and problem of the Destiel community. In another video, I intended to cover all the ways it's unavoidably canon in case anyone needs help preaching the good gospel of Destiel in a video format that makes sense. Here, I'll only be talking a few base references to solidify certain commentary instead of talking out my ass, as seems to be popular on both sides of the field. I'm not dragging out of context scenes or GIFs into this, just raw statistics and quotes from the production team. But I'd rather not pretend to pass myself as another millennial, five-hair dye color, paint-on-face girl, as the better part of the vocal Destiel community tend to be sexual experimentalists looking for some kind of validation of their identities through social media and fictional characters, and they kind of completely miss the point. On the other hand, my spouse actually represents the anti-shipper movement, and as a result, we've actually held extensive conversations about the story, plot, and problems in production without coming to severely hate each other somehow. So here's where the conversation has inevitably ended. She can't stand Destiel, but not for the reasons you would think. In fact, because she's not intentionally being friggin' obtuse, she admits it's 100% there. What she hates is the production style. She doesn't argue the point that it's just fan service or just appealing to fans anymore. That eye roll left several years and seasons ago. Because the level it's been taken to with the years of romantic framework leaves only the choice of blatantly pretending at least 4 years of canon didn't happen. It's like, I get it. Everything after season 5 is itself fan service, or the show would have ended years ago. So I can't go, oh, it's just fan service, so it doesn't matter. Or pretty much I should have stopped watching at Swan Song, where there were only quirky joke subtexts. Ding, 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 ding. Eureka. She has a realistic viewpoint on that. But the conversation doesn't end there. What she said is, what bothers me is how toxic it is. Not just the people yelling all around, but the production. Sam hasn't had room to grow as a character since season 8 and has been relegated to wingman since then. And you know what? She's right. The show has spent so long writing Castiel in places that used to be the spot for Dean's early season romantic interests to be in the framework Naomi saga, Metatron saga, Mark of Cain saga, and yes, even the Amara saga. And then going back and completely underwriting it, writing around it, turning it into a joke to try to keep the tension going, that the better part of our screen time gets devoted to baiting when this could have just instead deferred to Sam. Here's what we have to break away into statistics for a minute. So here, I'm going to end up editing in a few graphs. I'm not like an editor person, but I'll figure it out. I'm not retarded. So I know Google Trends isn't a perfect scientific display, but it's enough to give us a vague awareness of what's going on in the producers' heads based on trends. One of the biggest problems with the war on fandom is that its people like to marginalize subsets of the viewership. But you see this? Sure, if you enter Destiel, there's less than 1% search result interest, but if you enter Dean Winchester, there's less than 1% interest too. So unless you think Dean is only 1% of the show's interest and fan base, there's something wrong with our search terms. Now, it doesn't take long browsing YouTube or any social media to come to recognize that a lot of the time the term Destiel is a very niche viewer base. It's easy to say, it's easy to look up, but most of the time it's Dean plus Cass, Cass Dean, or any number of variants. So we're going to throw up a couple other searches here. Let's see. Let's try something else. Let's pair Dean off with people. Sam and Dean, for example, should clearly be one of the biggest search results. But let's see what happens when you pair Dean and Cass. Search limit is almost double, while Destiel and Dean Winchester run alone at the bottom line. Canon relationships like Anna are left in the dirt, and Amara was magically popular before the show ever used her, purely because of the vagary of her name, but you'll never see a spike in her popularity. Now we're going to default to this, the TV Guide poll. We already know Destiel has taken the cake on all kinds of teeny bopper fandoms for best chemistry and the like, but what about TV Guide? Do you really think that this is the hotspot of teenagers to cruise all day, putting in votes? Or with the trends of Google in mind, do you think that maybe we need to take some of this 89% approval into account? Bear with me here. There's a reason I'm discussing this. And it's, again, to understand the trap the producers have put themselves in. If you're an anti-shipper, I need you to listen to this as much as the shipper, even if the off-the-cuff comments, you may not like what I'm going to say, because in the end, I think you'll get it. The problem here is that Destiel has become most of the show's publicity. People have started tuning in just to watch for the infamous supposed gay angel. It's the most babbled about TV pairing on social media, and it's generally just inescapable. Also, as per this quick graph, Castiel himself has become the most searched and popular character in the show, almost twice as popular in search terms as Dean, and about 6 times as popular as Sam, so they can't just rip him out of the show. They tried that during the Leviathan saga, even said outright he was never coming back, and then the show ruptured ratings so fast they had to undo it. So where does that leave us? Well, you could make it canon. Hold up. Let's reel back a step. You know what the problem with giving a big, dramatic unveiling of Destiel is? That 89% could, in a show this long out, this old, just tune out. They got the ever after thereafter. Similarly, the 11% against it gets it rubbed in their face, and it could lose them. So what does production do? Bait, bait, and bait, until we get nightmares like 1219 the future. I as a shipper even went, what the hell just happened? It's to the point of absurdity. I get that. But this is exhausting their Destiel viewership and exhausting their not Destiel viewership, because people miss the focus on the brotherly relations, and Sam as a character has been left to rot. And I completely get that. Shippers and anti-shippers in the end mostly have the same enemy, aside from a few people who are just like, oh, no homo. And there's no fixing that. The enemy, the production team, and ourselves. If a calmer consensus could be reached, the production team wouldn't be so pants-on-head retarded on how to handle it, for one. Now, given they made this bomb, but now they don't know how to defuse this bomb. People stop slapping up alternate universe fictions that are entirely different characters, stealing their faces to make textual and video smut. The actors wouldn't be as bothered by it because otherwise they've acknowledged it. Let's try not shipping the actors together that are married in real life, because they're not in some part of your head you think that's happening. There's a way to make people rail against you. But most of all, the production team handled this one. They could handle it one easy way and get Sam his day in the sun again. Normalize it. No big fancy to do, no on-screen weeping and chick flick moments. As it is, and can be discussed in another video, every major romantic landmark has already been met with the characters. Falling, love yous, overcoming the challenges, being soul-bound, fated together, ignoring all mystic effects on them for the other person. It's there. And the language and writing has been so heavy that some people believe it's already there in the background. So just do that. Do that without making it a joke, and do it and just move on. It would validate the 89% in support as having been correct without taking the 11% against and just rubbing it all up in everybody's faces. Just move us on a fresh plot territory where Sam and Dean can shine together again. I'm actually surprised I went this far without a major mistake. This is my first video in the history of ever. What do I mean by normalize it? Well, for example, there's a chance Castiel could come back in season 13 humanized rather than still Angel, a topic I don't want to discuss at length because spoilers and not the point of this video. Have dynamic cameras acknowledge gradually that they use the same room to sleep in. It doesn't have to be a huge fuss. It's something that can be overlooked if you don't want it in your face. Ta-da! Hey, look, I fixed it. Now we can stop obsessing over it. Maybe a couple of phone calls. Hey, Sam, I need to talk to Dean. Yeah, well, him and Cass are on date night or whatever. What's up? Boom. Place a couple 5-second or less comments, which really aren't that much more absurd than the constant joking. This satisfy the audience. Don't underscore them as jokes, and suddenly you have hours of screen time. Previously tug of war over this out of hand canon, not canon relationship freedom or everything else. Basically, stop making the previous comments a joke. This shit is so thick it stopped being funny years ago. The general summary, though, is stop fighting. If you sit down and review the statistics without just trying to pin your point of view and run multiple versions of the searches or check neutral sources, there's no underscoring the Destiel community. And we can't fix this or the show and tell the authors it's okay to fix this until we stop screaming at each other and trying to be right just because it's not what you personally wanted to see. Because if they do it right, and they're not terrified of losing you, you don't have to see it that much anymore. That's the greatest part of this. The more vocal the anti-shippers are getting, the longer this is going to drag out in your face. True facts, because they've got a bigger community to appeal to on the other side. That's why it ever got appealed to begin with. You can say all you want, it's 1% of the viewership because you only search Destiel and not the combined names. But we know better than that. Just go back in the video, review a little bit. Even my girlfriend, who again is an anti-shipper, agrees at this point. This is what needs to happen. So just let it happen. Move on. Wipe your ass and flush. Let the brothers shine and Team Free Will be healthy and balanced again. Problem if it's handled like this, it won't continue rupturing viewership worse than any other season produced by Robert Singer as exec is. That's a whole other video topic. So there's my 2 cents, which was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I hope even just a few people take heed of it. Anti-shippers just want Sam back. So do I. Shippers just want them to stop baiting. So do I. We have the same core problem, guys. We fix it, we can fix it. We can acknowledge it, we can repair it. Can't fix what you don't realize is broken. Peace.